beginning. So a lot of years, Chala, and I respect you for everything you do. She's the founder of Repositioning Expert, had used to be Coach Tactics. It's a division of Coach Tactics. So again, she broadened her business. She truly is a marketing strategist. She's one of the only Grow Your Biz members where I've seen her on the corner of New York Times billboard, which is a pretty amazing thing to accomplish. And so she uses that, right? It's all about, if you've got a great marketing tool, use it. And she definitely provides everything from helps service providers to the, I don't know what F&B industry reposition is.
Food and, oh gosh, you've got a really old bio. That's food and beverage.
Okay, well then how come I do?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's from, you know, I worked for Pepsi, Pizza Hut, Frito-Lay. That's food and beverage. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we got to make sure we always get the updated one.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Definitely she is an award-winning marketer, and definitely worked for, you know, Pepsi, Pizza Hut, Frito-Lay, all kinds of Playtex for over 20 years. I have personally brought her out to BC many times because of the fact that she is such a strong marketer and attracts a lot of clients. And I love Chala, and I know that today she's going to talk about everything that we're all facing is how can we do that social distance marketing. And she talks about it and how to thrive the crazy world of self-isolation. And basically her tips will always be things that you can do immediately, you know, 3 things to immediately stop doing and to start doing to make the most of this isolation environment we're in. The single reason why most of us get paralyzed during this kind of isolation time. Tips on what should we be asking and taking in for our marketing, and how can we generate cash now? And she'll share some stories about how people have done that. So I'm now going to close. Oh, please, if you have a question, which I'm sure there will be, we can please put it in the chat box and we'll keep track of it. We'll keep track of the chat box, and then we shall give time at the end to answer questions. But then you will also do I know your own personal follow-up with Chala, because she is an amazing giver of information. And over to you, Chala, and thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you. So before you go, Barbara, before you turn off and I start sharing my screen, I want to acknowledge you for, and I want to tell these ladies, for those of you who don't know me, and to be perfectly honest, except for Patricia and Anne, I don't know any of you. So this is perfect. If I've seen you and we've met and, you know, I don't see, oh, Michelle, I know, of course she's in my chapter, but when I met Barbara, she didn't know me from Adam. And she said, Chala, and I introduced myself, and I don't even think I was a member yet, Barbara, honest to God. And you said to me, and we had met through a panel around, you know, women's issues and businesses, and you said, I'm going to do an event for you. And you trusted me to come in and speak to your top friends and networks of like 7-figure businesses. I think it was in Vancouver.
It was.
And I was floored. I couldn't even believe how much you supported me. And until then, I've got to tell you, it was a turning point for me, because I never really supported anybody else. I was just so hungry to grow my own. And that was the turning point where I actually saw, oh my God, I saw it in action. You know, everybody says it. Everybody says, lift as you climb. You've got to help the other person. You've got to help other women. And it's lip service until I saw you in action. And then it changed me forever. And then it started like I mean, you know, you only know the impact that you have, I guess, after you die. Like you know, like you probably look up and see how many people are at your funeral, but it's before you die, I want to let you know that impact. So at least for me, and it just grew my career from then on. Her exposure went on and on and on. They have always given me, you know, opportunities, and it started me. It started my business, and now you'll see what my business is doing. It's doing pretty good. And that's why I'm still the oldest member, and Patricia's our managing director in Ontario. She's still, or in my chapter in Mississauga, and I'm still like the oldest member there. And anyway, so I want to just thank you.
Chala.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing, and over to you, my darling.
Okay, let's get into how you guys are gonna succeed. So my name is Chala Dincoy. My company is the Repositioning Expert, and I put this together, believe it or not, almost a month and a half ago. So I saw the writing on the wall. I knew things were gonna get bad. This is way before social, like actual stay in place mandates were in. But I saw the writing on the wall, and so I put this together. And this is my reality. I just want to show you this video from, I don't know if you guys have seen it, the BBC News guy.
Scandals happen all the time. The question is, how do democracies respond to those scandals?
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children has just walked in. I mean, shifting sands in the region. Do you think relations with the North may change?
I would be surprised if they do.
And the little guy comes in, look, the baby comes,
pardon me.
And then there's the mother. Oh my God, so funny.
What's this going to mean for the region?
My apologies.
Look at him. Look, he's like trying to maintain his composure.
South Korea's policy choices on North Korea.
I just thought that's all of our reality right now. So I feel you guys. Now, this is my promise to you, is to keep you engaged. And in order to do that, I have a promise that if you stick around until the end, you get a chance to download my book. You're in the right place if the pandemic has all but stopped your business. And when I do webinars, you know, where there's a lot more time for interaction, and there's a column right next to me, if I'm not on Zoom, I'm actually doing a poll of how many people's business has stopped or dramatically declined because of the pandemic. So we won't have a chance to do that right now, but if you have any feedback or questions about that, please go ahead and do as Barbara said and write it into the chat, and Alicia will be keeping an eye on things, and then we'll try to get to them at the end. And you're in the right place if you're panicking about what to do about it. And wherever you look, it's hopelessness, and you are ready to think differently, which tells me why you guys have shown up today. And you want to be a leader in your community and to your family. And what we'll cover today is this is the stuff that Barbara was talking about, the single most significant reason why small businesses are paralyzed by the self-isolation, and the 3 things to stop immediately doing and to start doing, and the 5 steps that you need to be taking in your marketing to get cash right now. And then I'm going to share stories of reinvention to get you going. Now, what happened to me is, after working for 20 years at these large corporations, like what Barbara was telling you, then for 7 years, I've been my own boss. And I created a life where, you know, I work only half a day and make 4 times my corporate income doing my life's dream job. And I work out every day, most days for 2 hours, even now in self-isolation, including Zumba. I spend tons of time, my 10-year-old's here with me today, with Logan, and I pick and choose who I work with. And I help people fulfill their own dreams and live amazing lives. So that's one of the best things about my life. Now, how I got clients is through speaking. And last year I spoke at NASDAQ, and that's me and Suzanne Summers at the Harvard Club of Boston, where I was speaking last year. And now that's gone. And I was supposed to speak at Barbara's event, at the GroYourBiz event. And again, it's canceled. So my livelihood, you guys, is gone. So at first, when this started to happen, all the stuff started to get canceled, I was really scared, and then I shook it off. And that's, you know, Taylor Swift shaking it off in that video, which I love. So I put together this webinar to inspire you, educate you, allow you to sort of brainstorm about what you can do. And hopefully some of the stories I tell you would strike a chord, maybe to soothe you, and hopefully to entertain you. And after the webinar, I want you to no longer waste time expecting the market to change so you can change. I want you to be able to take the power back into your own hands, enable your business with you know, invaluable and timeless tools that we're going to talk about, and stop obsessing about the news and start creating for your success. And imagine a world where everywhere you look, you see an opportunity to grow your business, even if there's a pandemic, and there's no more hoping and waiting for the end of self-isolation for your revenue like mine to turn back on, and you regularly get an income from sharing your wisdom. Doesn't matter whether it's inside or outside of these conditions. So the problem is, if you don't have an online or virtual business, or if you don't sell like safety, health, sanitization, virtual stuff, your income has stopped or slowed dramatically. And why it's a problem is you're going to run out of cash flow. You can go bankrupt. Some people are saying this could last a year. Other people are saying the economy will melt down for a couple of years. And you have a loss of momentum because of the mindset around all of this mess. So the single reason why small businesses are paralyzed by self-isolation is, I think it's because they're not reframing the situation. So I wanted to give you a few very personal examples. A bad thing happened to me exactly a month ago. This was my accident, and you don't think it looks like much, but that was a $14,000 damage. So, and somebody hit me, and I was in so much shock because I drive like a grandmother, and I haven't had an accident in like 25 years. So I was really, really, really shocked to be hit. But I couldn't understand how it even happened. And then my reframe was, right away, I was able to get a brand new replacement as a rental of a beautiful car, and my own car has been completely renovated, updated, and in perfect, pristine shape. So that was my reframe, is like, I got to drive a brand new model of my car with all these extra bells and whistles, which was amazing. My son loved it. So the bad thing number two that happened around the same time was my virtual assistant, out of the blue, after 6 years of working together that I loved and loved and loved, quit. And I was in despair. And what I knew from all of the spiritual work, the coaching, everything that I've done, is everything bad that happens in the world is actually a detour to a good thing that's happening. So what happened is I found my new assistant, Crystal Kaufman, who has so much experience with online marketing that I have started to generate most of my income, in fact, all of my income, from online marketing, which has been, revolutionary. So and it was preparing me for the pandemic. So the reframe is, the pandemic has happened now to all of us, but really the reframe is the single biggest, it's opportunity for us to create a virtual business or a pivot of a business. And then it's the single biggest opportunity to learn how to grow our business through new channels or means or supplies. And it's the single biggest opportunity to borrow money and defer debts to do it. For example, I've deferred my mortgage, even though I can pay it, to free up some cash so that I can invest in my marketing. It's worked wonders. There's no other time in history that I would have been able to do that. And I'm using that to my advantage. And there are so many things available to you right now. We'll talk about all that. So the three things I think you should start doing right away is meditate, because it increases your immune system. It increases your serotonins. It's good for your mind, body, soul. One of the naturopaths, not naturopath, he's a what is he? Oh my God, Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's a neuroscientist. And what he talks about is that meditation is your body's natural pharmacy. So you don't ever need to take anything for your immune system if you meditate and can do it on a regular basis. So, I mean, I volunteer at a men's prison. You wouldn't believe the number of meditation programs they have there. The second thing you may want to do, if you haven't already, but this was like a month and a half ago, you guys, when I did this, get a handle of your cash situation, obviously. And there are really lots of ways to get help now. So I'm really, really happy about that. And then of course, reinvent, which is mostly what we're going to talk about today. So the three things to stop doing right away is, I had just finished a month and a half ago, this book from Gabby Bernstein called Judgment Detox. And when all of the madness started happening around COVID, what I noticed is people are judging others very harshly if they're underreacting or overreacting to the virus. So for example, I thought, when my gym closed, I could run in my stairwell in my condo. it's 30 flights, and I live on the 14th floor, so I would go from the 14th to the 30th, and I would do it 3 times. And I thought that was a fabulous way to, you know, and there's nobody who takes the stairs. And I posted, you know, a picture of me doing that on my social media, and was judged so harshly for spreading germs and spreading, you know, potential virus through the stairwell, that I felt unable to continue to do that, even though I could have been murdered and put there in the stairwell and nobody would have found me for 5 years, because nobody ever goes up there. So, you know, I became very aware of not only my judgment towards others, but everybody else's. And this book helped me see that every kind of judgment is about our own vulnerabilities. It's a trigger of our own. It's about ourselves. It's about an unhealed wound about ourselves. So if you have that kind of awareness, when you look at other people, you will understand it. There's people who are psychologically unable to process what's happening right now, and so they deny it. I mean, you've heard of groups that are against you know, stay in home, stay in place mandates. There are groups that are, you know, against wearing masks, and so on. And then there's the complete opposite, who are just, you know, want to lynch people who come too close to them or aren't wearing protective gear. So Judgment Detox, everyone, is what I, not just the book, but just the thought of it is what I want you to think about. And then, of course, I found a golden toilet picture here. I want you to cut unnecessary spend, but I read some research about, and I did a webinar of my own yesterday to my own community. And I talked about this, where there's 3 kinds of companies that they've researched in recession, who succeed in recessions or who fail in recession. So the first is the huge cutters. So if you're on my mailing list, you would have gotten this research, and it was about how extreme cost cutters never either survive through a recession, or they never ever get back to the market share that they had before. Then the second type is the Pollyannas, who are just spending, because all they see is opportunities, because everything is so much cheaper now. But they also don't do very well, because they don't admit to themselves that there is reduced spend pools, there's reduced, you know, reduced customer base. They just refuse to see reality. And the third kind that does really well is they don't get their cuts reduced just through their employees, like reducing their employees, but they cut their costs through efficiencies in their operations, and they take that money and they plug it right back into their marketing and R&D, and they do phenomenally, not only through the recession, but after the recession. So you don't need a golden toilet, but you know, you still need a toilet. I'm talking metaphorically here. I mean, compared to what the toilet paper thing. So the other thing that the last thing I want you to stop doing is don't be tone deaf. And this is a great model that one of my former coaches has put out in her literature. This is the Maslow's hierarchy of after you know, a corporate priority. And this, I think, translates to most businesses in a pandemic world. Is the first, you know, we've already been through this, is the first 14 days is what is the crisis response? And the next is, oh my God, survival. Well, how do we stay afloat for the next 6+ months? And then the next is the recovery. So you look at how are we gonna gather new revenue channels? And then you look at, okay, how are we gonna actually grow? Now that we're recovered, how are we gonna grow? And then what's the long-term vision? So if your marketing materials and if whatever you sell is talking to people at the higher end of the scale and they're still in survival mode, it's going to be tone deaf. That's all I want you to be aware. So if you have marketing that speaks to vision and growth, or let's say, I mean, I have a lot of clients who are learning and development coaches, and they're talking about growth and you know, leadership. Well, this is not the time to talk about growth and vision. This is the time to talk about survival and recovery, and to pivot your services accordingly. So don't be tone deaf. So here are the 5 steps to generate cash now. And I've put so much content that I'm gonna you know, talk as fast as I can. So, and we'll try to get the questions at the end. So the 5 ways to make cash now is, and I'm gonna go through each of them: forward sell, lower your price, find and become an alternate resource, borrow, and then super niche. Now, none of these are probably surprises to you, but I wanted to give you stories and examples for all of them. The first one is forward sell. When they did, and this is a month and a half ago, you guys, I just want you to realize this. Cheap flights due to the coronavirus, search phrase went up 2,450%. And look at what happened as a result is there are actual websites for travel about the coronavirus flight deals. And can you imagine that people are buying this and it's working? It's one way that you can forward sell. Here's another one. StubHub is a sort of like a Ticketmaster, like a ticketing agency. And what they're doing is because nobody knows when the concerts are going to go through or if they're actually going to happen. So what they're saying is if you buy it today and it gets canceled, you actually get 120% of your money back. So you get not only your money back, but you get more than your money back. So that's a really cool way to forward sell. So here is the second way to generate cash now is reduce your price. This is the namecheap.com is a kind of like GoDaddy. They make websites and they give you website URLs and extensions. And they had a 95% off entire product range. So you could get your website live and kicking for under $12. And they put, imagine at the time it was like March 23rd was the deadline. So that's the kind of stuff that a lot of people are doing. So look at Uber Eats. And actually right after I got this, I went and ordered it because it worked. It's $0 delivery fee because if you ever order Uber Eats, it adds up to a lot. Like I am, ashamed to say that I love empanadas because I'm not supposed to be having carbs, but I've been really, really comfort eating and have gained a couple of pounds. And if any of you have followed, my social media, I went down to 15% body fat last year and I have since lost it. So they call it the Corona 15, which is the Corona 15 pounds. So I haven't gotten there yet. I've only gained like a couple of pounds, but it's all because of the comfort eating, which is all for me. It's all about baking. It's crazy. Like the empanadas, I'm making my own. So anyway, I ordered Uber Eats and it comes out to like $40 for 3 empanadas because of the delivery fee, but now they're having it without it. So there you go. All right, so sale at the time, you could still go into the stores, and this is kind of like a Mech or a, Patagonia type of store, and they were paying tax on everything, and in store was 15% off almost everything. Of course, every store is closed now. And this is like a tiny, tiny business, and this is my RMT, massage therapist, and she was, right after it started, look at this, only available for purchase March 27th. So even before everything really hit the fan, she was forward selling and discounting packages, which I thought was fabulous. And she's tiny, like it's one room, a dark room, and a woman. The third way to generate cash now is to become and find an alternate resource. So the searches for suppliers outside China doubled as the coronavirus spreads. Now I understand things are back in swing in China, but this is what happened a month and a half ago. So, and then here's another example. This is a Pennsylvania distillery. They started to make, instead of beer, they saw the light as well. They thought, bars are going to be closed. So where are we going to sell our beer? Instead, we have the equipment. Why don't we make hand sanitizers? And that's how they pivoted. General Motors, most companies are doing it, but this was March 27th. And they're making ventilators. American Airlines, they're taking out all their seats. They did this, like this is March 19th, taking out all their seats and turning them into cargo flights because people are still ordering, people are still buying, but they're doing it online. So that means you need more cargo planes. And then other brands like Nike, Gap, they're making, just about every fashion brand now is making masks for healthcare workers, for everybody really. And that was March 25th. This is a small business success story. I wish this business was in Toronto because I would definitely send these. The quarantine cakes, this bakery looked at their numbers and they said we have 1 month's savings to survive. And what happened is they changed the business to sell quarantine cakes with messages that people could send to each other while they were in self-isolation. So this one says, wash your hands. This one says, don't touch your face. And they made more money in one day of that launch than they did in all of their history altogether. And they now had in one day 3 months savings to stay afloat. But it was because they were so clever in pivoting so early on. And at the time, this was, what Fiverr.com is a gig service where you can order artwork and design services and editing services for $5 and up. And they actually had launched an SMB, small medium business help coronavirus outbreak portal, where you would go to get support on how you can support your business in times like these. And it would literally bring you back to suggested gigs. So, I mean, Fiverr already has a portal for you to find what you need. But what they did is they put up a website, like one dashboard for you to come and find more solutions, which I thought was just fabulous. Okay, so the fourth way that you can make money right now is borrow, borrow, borrow. Interest rates are down low. Money is available, guys. I mean, this is for the US. I don't know how many of you are in the US, but this is available for Canada as well. There's tax deferment, there's mortgage deferment, there's employee wage subsidy. There's so many opportunities right now. If you haven't got the navigation to figure out which one you qualify for, talk to a bookkeeper or an accountant, talk to a professional, because chances are you are covered in some way. And don't grind it out, use it. Use the money to grow your business like I'm doing, because otherwise you'll be out of this, everybody's going to be back and all the doors are going to be opened and you won't have done anything and built anything in your business, and you'll be left where you started. So the last one, this is the one that I know. This is my wheelhouse. So I wanted to talk to you and give you lots and lots of ideas and stories about super niching. And super niching is picking a specialty and a target and picking a very, very, very specific one. So you're going to see lots of examples about it. So you can grow your business faster if you stand out. That is the big promise that I make you. If you stand out in your industry by super niching, and if you stand out in any way. So my story, as you know, is after working for 20 years, I launched this company. It was a coaching company. And it was called, as Barbara said, Coach Tactics. And it was very generic. It said, do you need coaching? Are you ready to reach your next goal? But I didn't really even know if it was for business or for personal coaching, because I didn't know. And so obviously, if I didn't know, you could tell that I didn't know from my website. So then when I looked into the market and I was trying to make a living, well, there were so many other coaches starving in the market. And what I did to get through to buyers, which was the hard way, was I tried my networks, cold calling. I tried spamming people with LinkedIn. I tried going to networking events, trade shows. I did ads on Facebook, you name it. And I got nothing. I was broke. I was disheartened, and I had spent all my money on this marketing. Then I stopped twinning and I stood out when I rebranded as the repositioning expert, where I helped you evolve your message and your sales. And what I did even further is I became an elevator pitch coach. And that's me speaking at the Disney Institute about and coaching people in person on how to do their elevator pitch. And that worked out so well when I super niched, you guys, that, I made 19 media appearances in 2 years. I published 4 books. I actually have a podcast, which I'm going to invite all of you to guest on, called Polish My Pitch. And, as you know, I spoke at all these places. And what Barb was saying is I got on the Jumbotron last year. And so I wanted to just show you about other people who were able to stand out based on their brand or super niching and doing something different. So I want to give you ideas. Sasha was a friend, and he was transitioning from a different industry, moving into a new market, moving into a new industry. Lots was going on for him. And the problem was he was a web designer. In fact, he's designed my website, so you can go and look at repositioner.com. And what he was launching in an oversaturated market, everybody and their brother can do a website. So he needed to quickly make a living, or he had to get a job. Like, there was just no two ways about it. And he was frustrated with being ignored at networking events because everybody else was doing the same thing. And he didn't have any networks or prospects because he was new. And what we did is we gave him a very unique brand character, and you're gonna laugh, but it's called the Shirtless Web Guy. And the message is that he makes websites that stand out like me. And if you go on his website, you'll see the picture toggles between his shirtless picture and his picture in a shirt. And then we wrote a whole page about why he was shirtless, because he codes shirtless, and he used to be a foster kid and all his background. So that brand made him stand out. So remember, the whole promise is if you stand out, you are going to be able to make more money. And so the results are he landed multiple contracts every time he went networking. People always remembered him when he took their card and he called them later. And that, even cold calls, he would say, it's Sasha calling from the Shirtless Web Guy, and people would crack up and they didn't engage with him. And then, he got so much business, he forgot about looking for a job. So I want you to imagine if you could get clients every time you met new prospects and they cracked up and they loved what you were saying. So Joan is another story, and the problem for Joan is she was a postal walker, and she used to drop the mail in your house, and she wanted a side gig income because it was at 3 o'clock she would end, and so she had all this time, and she didn't have any kids, so she wanted a side gig, and she became a downline for a multi-level marketing company called Send Out Cards. It's something that I send to my new clients as soon as they become clients. Like, I send them brownies, for example. So she had never sold any of the product to anyone in a year, like maybe 1 or 2 friends, but that was it. And she was like so embarrassed because they had given her the training, and she was ready to give up on her dreams of being an entrepreneur. And she said, I just can't do it. But she didn't know how to get new prospects. So what we did is we created an exciting event using her product and her personal passion of skydiving. And here's where she says, join me in something adventurous, and no, you don't have to jump out of a plane. And what ended up happening is 18 people showed up to her house, to that party, and half of them became a downline and the other half became customers. And she's got this rinse and repeat process, and she's repeated it over the last few years, has a huge downline. And I just want you to imagine if you stood out like that, if you were able to use the ability to differentiate yourself, what could you do if you regained your confidence in your entire selling power with just one event, and even during coronavirus? So Emma is a client that I met through an executive roundtable that I did, and she owned a translation company, very successful one, and she was very nervous about having too many government contracts. It's too many eggs in one basket. And she thought she had to cold call to get new clients, but she had no time because she had all this business from the government. And she was also very shy about putting her face or her voice or doing anything. So she wasn't doing anything because she was so nervous about it. And what we did is we created a quick questionnaire for her to call people she knew. And in 2 weeks, she knew she found a huge market gap. And you know what it was? Before, when she was a generic translator, after she became other language translator, because it turned out during the research that over 75% of the world speaks a language other than English. And she saw a huge opportunity in the other languages market because they could translate a Punjabi document in a week, whereas her competitors would do it in a month. So the results for her was she launched this interview marketing platform where she would approach her prospects, and they would say, she would say to them, would you like to talk about multiculturalism in marketing? And they would say, sure, yeah, of course, why not? And she regularly that way got to speak to ad executives. And then she got a major new client within a week of starting the interview series. Because it was there was no selling in this. Like, that was what made her nervous. There was no selling. So she no longer had to depend on the government for contracts. So think about what it would be like if you could avoid doing things you hate to sell a market and still get high ticket items, high ticket clients to meet with you. That's the dream, isn't it? That's the magic. So Catherine, when I met Catherine, I met her through another executive roundtable, and she owned a language school, and she was losing a very large client. Her competitors were like Berlitz's and the Alliance Française, like huge competitors. She was really scared because she was like me, a single mom, had a special needs kid, and she was losing 80% of her revenue. So what we did is we niched her, remember the super niching, in cultural language expertise. And because it turned out from the research that 67% of executives, and she was targeting mining companies, said that if a manager in Toronto said the wrong, maybe not just the words, but the context, the connotation, the tone, whatever the cultural cues were, if they used it wrong, they piss off the person in South America, and the mine work stops and slows down because of this difficulty of communicating, because of the cultural difference between the languages. So that's what she became known for, and the results were, well, she replaced her lost income in 2 months. She became known for her cultural lunch and learns because she would use it, that super niche, to cross-sell. She would use it as a hook to get in and cross-sell other languages. So I want you to think about what could your super niche be that would get you noticed like crazy, especially after the coronavirus, because it's going to be so much more competitive. So let me ask you guys a question. You've heard a lot of stories. You've heard a lot of people getting through the recession, getting through even before the recession, ability to stand out. Would you like more help with that? So if I can't see, but if anybody would like to type a yes, if they'd like to get more help, or they'd like to get more resources on that, if you could let me know, that would be great. So I can't really see anyone. Oh, I see a yes.
That's Linda.
Okay, good. All right, so if I can get this off. All right, so I know it's too much information, but what I'd like to offer you guys is a scheduled call, a one-on-one with me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, if you you can open up another tab and you can go to repositioner.com/growyourbiz. And this is also where you get your free book, you guys. And here it is. I'm just going on to that link, and this is what you see. So master your super niche, and exclusive to you guys, you press here to schedule a call. Okay. And for those of you who are really tech savvy, I apologize that I'm walking you through this, but I want to do that. So starting from Friday, you can pick these appointments, and then you pick one, and then you schedule, you put your name, last name, and so on. And then we'll be on a Zoom call just like this one, because I know you guys are able to use Zoom, and then there you go. So that's how, and you can go back. And here is how you can click here to download your Gentle Marketing book. And that's what you get. You get the page, and you put in your information, and you get your book now. So that's what I have for you today. And so I'll go through the summary of the 5 ways to make cash now. 1 is to forward sell. 2 is to lower your price. 3 is to find and become an alternate resource. 4 is to borrow, and 5 is to stand out and super niche. And I want to sort of end it before we go into Q&A. I just thought this was so funny. It's called the Wuhan Handshake. If any of you have seen this, it's an anti-coronavirus greeting. I figure if it's good for Wuhan, it's good for us, right? There we go. And I just want to leave you with this, is you can show your family that in times of chaos, you retreat into distraction and entertainment, or you could choose to skill up, to learn, to deepen relationships, and to progress rather than pause or hide or hunker down onto the couch all day. Because he says, please, you still have goals and dreams, and they are all watching. And that's one of my favorite coaches, Brandon Bouchard. And I really feel that, because, I mean, look at my little guy can see me working my tail off. Like, I'm not just sitting around. And yeah, I'm working harder than I used to when I used to get clients from speaking on stage, because then I would just go and speak, and I would come back, and then I would have some, you know, downtime. But now I'm working behind my desk all the time. So that's what I want for you. Maybe not what you want for yourself. But again, if you have any questions, and you don't feel like going through that, that portal that I showed you, the appointment page, you can go through here and just email me. Okay, so now I am ready to take your questions.
Thank you so much, Chala. Always energizing and full of great tips.
Are you putting soap on your glasses?
I think not everybody's muted, so we're hearing somebody's just like the BBC.
I think I hear a baby.
It's like the BBC.
Okay, I would like us to go to Linda's question. She was one of the ones that said that yes to your question. So go ahead, Linda, please ask. Tell Chala what you have. What
I think the yes was for would you like, when I said would you guys like more resources and more information?
No, but
yeah.
And let me just hear so you can actually see me as well. Hi, thank you so much. I always ask questions. I know that there's a Linda Nickel. I don't know if Linda Nickel had a question.
Okay, so Linda Holzman is from Puerto Rico, and she
really,
yeah, she's from Puerto Rico, and she is in our virtual board with Leanne Hackman in Alberta. So we try to put. Right now, our focus is putting together virtual boards that will be no longer physical, and we have people from all over the world. So Linda, go ahead and ask your question. Linda Holzman, ask your question.
Okay, thank you. Thanks everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. My question is, I tend to be very niche in terms of industry and size of company. But you're even suggesting even smaller than that. How in other words, I understand the rationale behind it, but how much more, how do you take the risk away from that, I guess is the key, right?
The risk of missing out on other niches, do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that particularly on the B2B side, it tends to be, things get blurred, right? From one company size to the other. Or if you have, like in my case, a product portfolio that walks you through the trajectory of your growth strategy, right? So you get from size A to size B to size C. How do you, at what point?
Is it okay if I ask what kind of business you have, Linda?
Sure. I have a consulting business. I work with small and mid-sized companies through their growth trajectory. So I help companies establish a financial foundation that is aligned with a proper business model. I help companies scale, and then I help them establish an international presence. So if you can see, it's like the whole trajectory, and the rationale for me on that is really not always being on the biz dev side, but actually growing with the company over time, minimizing that new business development piece all the time. And so I'm trying to balance those two. But in your case, it feels very focused on very small, so you're always trying to get new clients. I guess I'm trying to figure that out.
Well, I mean, not at all. So having a small niche or having a laser focused niche or super niching means that you have 2 or 3 times more access to more people, and that your message actually sticks more because they now understand why you're different. They understand exactly the problem that you help. So, and it absolutely doesn't mean that you have to be constantly recruiting new clients. That's completely up to you. It depends on, like when a nightclub, they leave the door more open, the velvet rope is, off when it's empty, and they close it a little more when it's a little bit fuller. So it completely up to you. It has nothing to do with the super niche. So in your case, what you're thinking about is how to structure the business according to how you want it to behave, which is great. But what I'm more interested in is what the market is interested in you for the most and what they will pay you. So yes, there is a journey, but which point of the journey do they feel the most pain? And it's the most expensive pain, and the most amount of people feel that pain. So when I worked with a succession planning coach, he used to evaluate companies. Is that what it's called? Evaluate companies, value companies. And so the problem that we niched on was that small business owners can never retire. Ha ha ha. You know why? Because they can never retire, because they never know how much money they have or how much it's valued or how to sell it. Right. And it's never worth anything when they're ready to sell. So we niched in the fact that pain point, and our messaging was 3 out of 4 businesses can never retire. So then that message hooked them from the start into valuation. First valuation. Then he would put a whole strategy together to increase the value. So you see how he would hook them in with the message with the point that is the most painful. Does that make sense, you guys?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think there were 2 things that I'm looking for on the chat box. Michelle would like you to please say the 5 ways to make cash now again. You know, that one. And then another one was, oh, we've got the answer for the link, so that's good. Go ahead. Can you just repeat them?
Yes, I was going to try to copy them actually.
Do we have access to your? Are you going to provide us with access to those people that couldn't be here but registered?
Sure. I mean, does this recording go out to them?
It does. Well, they have to have a link, and it only goes to the people that are.
Yeah, that would be okay with me.
Okay.
Now, you know what? For some reason, it's not letting me type into the chat. Is that weird?
That's okay.
To everyone. Okay, yeah. So let me try.
Chala, you could also email it to me, and I can provide it in the email that has the webinar. So.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, you could get it right off the slides too. But just to repeat them, they're forward sell.
I just missed the 3rd one.
Oh, just the 3rd one is find and become an alternate resource.
I'd like to go back to Linda Nickel. And Linda, the reason I want to go to you is because you wanted to know it was a follow-up thing. But Linda, you're an artist and you sell beautiful artwork, but it's very difficult right now. I get that. And you're in a very small community that doesn't often appreciate the value of your work. Chala, let's just dig into that for a moment. Give the one tip. Give the one tip for Linda that could have her get a more global audience. Is it the YouTube? Is it doing a YouTube showing technique? I'd like to hear your answer on that one.
Yeah, I mean, everything starts with who are you going to help, right? Who needs you the most? And then you go, the second question is, what is the problem that you can solve for them right now that they would be willing to either give you that kind of money for, or if it's free, to give you the time for, because everybody's competing for mind space right now. So the first question is, who can you help? 2, what can you help them with? And then you can put together any kind of products or services or combinations thereof to do that. Do you have any ideas, Linda?
So what I've done, or how I've been looking at it, is this is my opportunity to really dive into my painting, because I haven't had as much time up until now, right? So what I did, I sold a painting last week. I took the money that I made from the painting and I just spent all of it on more paint supplies, right? Yeah. Because I'm working on, this is my opportunity to work on new techniques and stuff and build up a collection, right? Or a series. And eventually I just know in my heart that they will sell, because the response has been really positive, right? So I'm not even thinking right now of how to really promote this, other than, you know, through social media.
So
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Chala.
No, I mean, you go ahead, because I was saying, like, it doesn't sound like she wants to do any selling right now.
Well, I do want to sell if it comes, but I don't want to get my heart set on selling right now if the market isn't ready for it anyways, right? Or if the market isn't great for art right now anyways, then I'll take this opportunity to expand my own art practice, right? Or like to experiment.
Yeah. I mean, you could absolutely think of it that way and take this. I mean, everybody's making something different of it. But if you're of the mindset that there is opportunity right now, because let me tell you, people are buying, and I bought art online just the other day because I want to get rid of this thing, right? So, you know, I'm not spending on anything else, but this is a priority for me right now, because guess what? This is my world now.
Right.
Do you see what I mean? So
Yeah.
it really is your mindset. If your mindset tells you there is no opportunity right now, then there isn't. But if and your mindset is saying there's limited opportunity, so I'm going to use this time to create, and that's okay too. But if your mindset tells you there is opportunity and why aren't I taking advantage of it, then that's a whole other, I mean,
Right.
just what I just told you is one opportunity, but it really starts with you wanting that opportunity and believing it. Because if you don't believe it, then there's no opportunity, my love.
Right.
I have to acknowledge Susan, and in two ways I'm acknowledging you, Susan. Throughout the whole webinar, you have been exercising. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. You notice what she's been doing? She has been running. She has been moving and running and building her car. Wow, you are amazing. So that was the first thing I needed to acknowledge. But she also said to you, Linda, and I want to follow up with that. She said, have you thought about taking your art and creating puzzles out of it? And which, because everybody's buying puzzles online. But it's even more than that. Right now, if you have the time to reach out to different agents, and because we did the Uniquely shows for 16 years and helped 12,000 entrepreneurs, there were many artists who wanted to who did not want to sell their artwork, their original artwork. But there were so many agents that said, but there are opportunities for you to sell to people that want to take your beautiful artwork and make them into other products that they sell. So, I mean, that's the downtime, is, you know, finding the research, doing that kind of thing. If you want, but I agree with Chala, you have to want to sell more.
It's a mindset. It's a belief, right? Some people really do
is.
believe, that's it, I'm done. I'm just going to give myself to my creativity, and that's fine. But
and Michelle's question is a good one too, and it might tie into Melissa as well. And it's about, she doesn't want to lower her prices, and I really understand that, because and she, in fact, I think, Michelle, go ahead and ask the question, but it's like you want to create new pieces that are very high value. Go ahead, Michelle.
Yes. So it's just that I have a lot of inventory. I just received some stuff back from a salon because I had my stuff being sold in a salon, and she's downsizing, so she doesn't have room for it anymore. So now I have a lot of inventory, and I also have a lot of raw materials to make new jewelry. And I haven't actually made a thing since this self-isolation started. And I really need to. I need to make stuff. But anyhow, I want to sell my inventory for that reason as well, to get some cash now, like Chala was saying, without making more than a certain amount, I guess the $1,000. So anyhow, right now I want to just get rid of this stuff that I have, or a portion of it. So I was going to do like a one-day sale on Facebook, or an auction type thing, maybe even donate a portion of the sales.
Yeah, that's a good one. I noticed, Michelle, and I'm sorry I haven't gotten back to you because I've been going crazy myself, but I noticed you're very active in the business community, and that's amazing. So you're highly visible. You've stepped up your visibility. That is really, really great. What I noticed, though, from a marketing standpoint, is there's a little bit of a disconnect between what you're doing and what you're selling. So because
Right.
you're stepping forward as a business, you know, like what Barbara's doing,
Yeah.
right? And then, so, but I love the branding. I love that you're wearing it. I love that it's in the background. So what I think now, what people, because honestly, if people buy it, they can't wear it. They can't even go outside and wear it. Like they have the
They
excitement.
can wear it on Zoom.
Exactly. But what I wonder, and this is, and I usually just, you know, hate giving you advice without doing some market research. So do this. Ask people in your community whether they'd be willing to pay for a course on jewelry making while, you know, and they can maybe own it. Like they buy the stuff from you and you ship it to them and they buy the course and the course is cheap, but then they get to own it and wear it. Do you see something like, because right now what people are spending money on is things to keep them busy at home, things to learn. And it's one way for you to hook into learning and then they can be building their own, right? So is that something you think you'd be interested in doing at all?
But they can't do anything right now because they can't get supplies.
No, you would supply it to them. I mean, people are sending hair color, for God's sake. You would ship it to them.
I send it to them and say, let's do a course.
Yeah.
Sorry, Michelle, I also, you are wearing a magnificent piece right now, which I want to ask you about. But even, I mean, Susie, I think, had an idea too, is like, could you position your artwork as backdrops for webinars that people are doing? And I think that's you know, you always see, when you start seeing everybody on TV right now, and I always look at their houses. I want to see the background of their houses, right? It really is true. Patricia's there with those flowers. I noticed that. Linda, can't quite see your artwork. I would reposition your work, definitely. So I'm just saying that's a really great idea. But I want to know, I think the one webinar that we did with Cheryl Plouffe, and I'm giving her a plug here, Chala, just like I'll give you plugs and other ones, is that she talked about, yes, Facebook and Instagram, but the most effective way to sell right now is on YouTube. And I really believe that. And it's that 1 minute YouTube is how to wear a magnificent piece like I've got on, right? That's what I'm saying to you. You've got a magnificent piece and I've been looking at it. It's been eye-catching for me. And I want to know, wow, where are those gems coming from? Is that India? Is that Thailand? Is that, like, do you know the story of each piece? And if you do, share it. That will increase your selling online, guaranteed.
Right.
Right, Chala?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, it depends on what people want. So I'm very nervous to give people advice. I want you to go and ask your community, because you have a huge community. So say, guys, would you pay this much for this business idea, or this much for Barb's idea, or this much for another idea? So do like a whole research on, talk to at least 5 people who you think might buy this. You know, if you can talk to more, even better. And then like talk to them though. Don't email it, don't do anything. Like actually interview them. Just talk to them one-on-one, pick up the phone and call them. And then I will tell you whether I would give you money as a backdrop or to take a course, you know?
So the whole point though, Michelle, is you've got Chala as an expert writing your own board. So, right? I mean, the two of you need to get together. You need to buy Chala's services, get some feedback from her, whatever. But I think that's where the support group comes in for each other.
Yeah.
Melissa has an interesting business and it's 10-1, so I can't take time. But Melissa, you should book some time with Chala, because I'll just share this. Melissa has 2 businesses. One being construction, which people are still painting and doing homes, etc., because they can self-isolate or they can do the social distancing. Sure, yeah. But the other one is a luxury tour boat.
Ooh.
And adventure. And, that's the one you need to talk to Chala about, Melissa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Book some time with her.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so you guys, it's repositioner.com/GroYourBiz, GYB, GroYourBiz.
Yes, yes. And so speaking of GYB, one of the things that you did mention, Chala, and I'm going back to your very beginning, where you talked about borrowing and using taking advantage of all of the different programs, government, federal and provincial, that are out there. I don't know if any of you are getting, if you're a Grow Your Biz member and you're on our web and we have your email, you should be getting our constant contact. So this is our 5th week of putting out tips for tough times. And I mean, it takes a lot of work, so we want to make sure that it is being used, but we provide every week the updates on what has changed. So it was everything from the wage subsidy you mentioned, which went from 10% to then 75%. The different elements of every program, we keep on top of it. That's so besides membership, we try to, and I pivoted, right? That was my pivoting, Chala, is to say, what other things can we offer our members so they are kept abreast of what's going on? So one is all the programs. A second one is webinars like we're doing today, bringing experts in like Chala, and I'm going to ask her to do another one in June. Just really intense webinars like this. And Linda will be doing one with Brandy from Spokane, Washington. She was Arizona. So 2 people are coming together to do one. And then the other thing that we do is our free trial, 1-hour virtual board. And we did the first 2 yesterday with Marg Hatchie and Marla Cott. Beautiful, wonderful chairs. And you know Marla, Chala.
Of course.
So we are definitely doing trial virtual boards so people can see the benefit of what Grow Your Biz and advisory board can do for you, and why you need support. So the whole idea there is please know that everybody has to pivot their business. And so Grow Your Biz is doing the same thing. And if you have an idea for a webinar, I know that Susan Ann Gomez did one about a year ago, and it was fantastic. And so just the talent that we have around the table, let's use that talent and let's spread the word about that talent. So I'm sure, Linda, I'm going to say this out loud to you because I know that you could probably talk to 1 or 2 people in Puerto Rico that can say to them, you should bring Chala in to do a webinar for you. I see the links all the time, and that's what makes us a great group to work together. Is like we can see things, and Chala's one person that could do a great webinar, and anyone else. So I don't know who Kara and Andrea are. Can you quickly introduce yourself before we close up? Kara, who are you?
Oh, hi. Hang on, let me see if I can get the video on.
I know, we should ask everybody to make sure. Oh, here you are, Kara.
Yeah, I'm here with my son, so you don't want to see my kitchen.
That's okay. Kara, where are you located? Kara, where are you located, please?
I'm in Oakville.
Oh, and are you part of a Grow Your Biz board? I don't know everybody.
Yep, I was Patricia. I can see her raising. Hi, Patricia. Hi, Chala.
Oh, right. You're the new person. That's right.
Yeah,
oh, fantastic. Nice to meet you, Kara.
Yes, yes. We met at Mompreneurs.
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much. And what about yourself, Andrea?
Hi, everyone. No, I'm not on video. Sorry, because my daughter was in and out too. I wasn't prepared. But no, great to be here. I came in late. And I'm a owner of fruit and vegetable company with sustainable packaging here in Toronto.
And are you part of a Grow Your Biz board?
I don't believe so. No, we met, I think, through some of the mompreneur groups as well. And
so,
online.
What's so very interesting is I've never been to a mompreneur group in Toronto, so I don't know how I met the 2 of you, but maybe you saw my face somewhere else.
Maybe it's, yeah, more through LinkedIn.
At conference. It was at conference.
Right, that's right. So Andrea, you might want to try a trial board. They're in the Tips for Tough Times. Do you get that? Our weekly newsletter? And I'm going to ask Chala, I'm going to ask you for feedback. Specifically, I'll even pay you for feedback. I want to know what they like about the Tips for Tough Times, what needs to change, because we're going into our 5th week and we have to do a survey soon.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Anyway, thank you all. Any last minute questions? Anyone? continued. Okay, Patricia, I love seeing the children. It's real life of women entrepreneurs. It's like the intro, the BBC one. I loved that video.
I love seeing pets as well. I love seeing the cats and the dogs on the videos. It's like people. It's real. It's real.
Real. It's totally real. So once again, thank you, Chala, and thank you to all who participated. And make sure you connect with Chala for all the expert advice that she can provide to you.
Thanks, ladies. Have a good
nice day.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.